The Andy Pollin Show.
We got to go after this with everything we got, figuring they're going to come with everything they got.
I'll start off by saying I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630 starts right now.
Two obvious statements. One, I'm back from a few vacation days. Two, it's really, really hot. More on both those stories coming up. James Wood does it again last night. Home run number 22. Will he be in the home run derby at the All-Star game next month? We will get to that. NBA draft. Interesting situation shaping up for the Wizards. Could they wind up with a player who has the same name of a former Washington Capital because of what looks to be unusual circumstances? We will get to that. And Gilbert Arenas had something interesting to say about chasing rings. Whatever you may think about Gilbert Arenas, he's kind of grown on me. He's become more of a thoughtful guy. I mean, he's still a moron for what he did, bringing the guns in the locker room. That's inexcusable, and that will always be with him. But he's not stupid, I'll tell you that. I mean, that was a stupid act, but the way he looks at things is, well, it's impressing me more and more, and we'll get to that. And Stephen A. Smith, too much Stephen A.? Yeah, a little bit of Stephen A. goes a long way. You don't want to make a meal of ketchup or hot sauce, and he's apparently trying to give you all of that and more, and we will get to that coming up shortly. I guess because of all the talking that I did during my little vacation, my voice is a little bit still scratchy, trying to work through that, but do the best I can with that. And I did spend some time in Chicago, as I may have told you over the years. My grandfather was one of 8 children who came to the United States in the early part of the 20th century from Ukraine. And from those 8 kids, we now have offspring of over 200 in our family. And we have reunions every 2, 3, 4 years. And we just had one in Chicago where we had about 60 people show up. We've had as many as like 100 in various years. And we are now, with kids having kids, we're now in the 7th generation of Poland's since coming to the United States of America when my grandfather came in 1910. And so it's really cool to get together. Did some kayaking, had some really good meals together. Tried the Chicago, what is it? The Italian beef. That's what it is. If you've ever seen it on the Food Channel, it's like a sub, but it's really juicy. And they dip the actual bread, the whole thing, into like a gravy. And you have to eat it over a table. It takes lots of napkins, but it has a very good flavor. So I enjoyed that. Some pizza and other things. But it was really nice to get together with the family for that. Now, I come back, and it's supposed to be 102 today. It felt like that yesterday, although we didn't get to 100. The high temperature was 98. It could get to 102 today with a heat index of 110, something like that. Just crazy. And I saw this story in the New York Post, which kind of surprised me. They say that serious organ damage can be done if people's core temperature stays high for too long. So it would seem that a cold shower would be a sensible way to cool down. And if you remember the tragedy at the University of Maryland, maybe 10 years ago now, we had Jordan McNair, who was a football player in an off-season workout. It wasn't really that hot, but he probably wasn't in his best shape. And the coaches decided to make an example of him when he wasn't able to complete some drills. And they were kind of dragging him across the line as to say to the rest of the team, hey, this guy's not holding up his end, and tough guy stuff. And turned out that they didn't have the proper cold tub to bring down his body temperature, and he died of organ failure a couple of weeks later. So I always thought that going into a really cold tub or a cold shower was the way to do it, but be careful about this. They say that if you do that, you're going to risk big change to your body and heat around your organs. You don't want that to happen. And it's especially bad news for people with heart conditions, although they say it's rare. The shocking difference in body temperature going from hot to cold can cause an irregular heartbeat, and worst-case scenario can lead to death. So the thing to do is to drink plenty of water, avoid caffeine and alcohol because they cause dehydration, and do the best you can. Whoever Carrier is, he invented the air conditioner. I forget his first name, but Carrier was the first to come up with the idea of air conditioning. That's the greatest invention of the 20th century. We used to do these kind of phone polls on the Tony Kornheiser show. He hasn't taken calls in probably 20 years. But years ago, people would call in on the poll. And one day the poll was that what's the greatest invention of the 20th century? You would have to say air conditioning, right? What would your life be like if we didn't have air conditioning on days like this? There was a time when most homes did not have it. It meant sleeping out on the porch in some cases. Sometimes you would go to the park and put down a blanket or a sleeping bag and sleep outside and do the best you could. But now that we have air conditioning, though it can get expensive, I'm expecting a very, very high bill next month. What would you do without air conditioning? And I'm glad I just had my air conditioner service because you'd hate to have a breakdown now. This is the time, by the way, when air conditioners break down. As a matter of fact, when my son was born in 1991, living in New York, and there was a tremendous heat wave then, and that's, of course, when my air conditioner broke down when we had about 7 or 8 people due to sleep in the house. And I got him out there to fix it, but because it was a weekend and all that, it wound up, at least at the time, being very expensive. But we got the thing working again, and we all live. We are all okay. And all these years later, 34 years later, my son is grown and he's married, and everything is good. So James Wood, yeah. Pretty damn good. I was just looking at the numbers. He has played exactly the same number of games this year as he played last year after being called up from the minors. Last year, 79 games. He hit 9 home runs, 41 runs batted in, 264 batting average. This year, after 79 games, James Wood has 22 home runs, 61 runs batted in, and is batting .284. So his batting average is up 20 points. He's got 20 more runs batted in, and he has, 13 more home runs in the same number of games. And last night at the ballpark that he was drafted to play in, as he was taken by the San Diego Padres in the ballpark, he played his first game in Petco Park. Second year in the major leagues and got to play in Petco Park and seemed quite comfortable there. He had 3 hits. He drove in 4 and hit the 3-run homer. His manager, Davey Martinez.
He really focuses on just staying on the ball. We talked a lot about how he really tries to stay in the middle of the field. But when he gets the pitch in, you can see him turn on it like he did. So he's been really good. I mean, the key with him is really trying to get the ball up in the zone. When he does that, he hits the ball extremely hard.
Now, he has not yet received an invitation to the Home Run Derby. It's likely he's going to be an All-Star. I would expect he'll be selected for the All-Star team from the Nationals. But he says he has not yet received an invitation. And even if he gets one, he's not sure if he's going to participate, though there might be some motivation in that the first prize is $1 million, and that's more money than James Wood is going to make this year. But he doesn't seem like he's going to be chasing dollars. He also doesn't seem like he wants any kind of publicity. I mean, he's very shy. You never see him smile. He'll be cooperative in interviews, but I wouldn't say he's a great interview. But he's going to be a star. And as you look at this trade and it gets further and further in the distance, although I think you could probably say that Juan Soto is the best hitter in the game and is likely to wind up in the Hall of Fame unless something dramatic happens. You have got quite a haul in this deal. And C.J. Abrams, who also came over in the trade, as did Mackenzie Gore, who's been at least solid and may turn out to be a star as a pitcher. You got two stars here. Abrams has already been an all-star, and he, like Wood, performed last night. He had 3 hits, and he scored 3 runs, 2 of them on hits by Wood. And here's Davey on what those 2 have meant to him.
These guys are the cornerstones of our organization right now. They're young, they're full of energy. As you can see, they love to play the game, and those two guys on the field, Wood, CJ, they're helping us win a lot of games. Mackenzie, when he pitches every 5 days, he goes out there and competes and gives us a chance to win a game as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
What did you see from CJ and James where they were able to just stay calm, cool and collected and didn't let the hype of the fact that they were, traded from here affect them?
Oh, they went out there and just played. They played the game the right way. I mean, that's what they did. I mean, they both had a game plan. They executed the game plan, and like I said, they both had some big at-bats for us today and played really well.
Yeah, Abrams, again, who's been an all-star, might get back there this year. He's hitting .284 with 11 homers. He's got 16 doubles, 16 stolen bases. And whatever happened at the end of last year where he reportedly was in a casino all night and showed up for a 1 o'clock game in Chicago, not rested, and was sent down to the minors for the last weekend of the season. That seems to be in the rearview mirror. There hasn't been any sign of problems this year, and it's rare, almost never, do you get real value when you trade a superstar in his prime. But Mike Rizzo may have done it. I mean, we may have a real future star in James Wood, and you have an excellent shortstop in C.J. Abrams, who at least is under team control. I believe it's 4 more years, and Wood maybe 5 more years. So between the two of those guys, if they do start to spend some money, and that may depend on what happens with ownership, and I think there's a better chance of ownership change this year than last year because of the certainty now on the Masson deal that the Nats will be out of it at the end of the year, and that might precipitate a sale. And of course, franchises keep going up in value. The Lakers selling for $10 billion is going to have a trickle-down effect on the Nats. That the selling price was reportedly $2.1 billion. Nobody was able to meet it. The Lerners don't negotiate, apparently, and that's why a deal has not been made. But I think now, with the way things have evolved with the Masson deal, I think it's quite possible there's a sale, and if there's a sale, maybe there's some money spent around these young stars. Some NBA stuff, and this happens, every 2 to 3 years. Kevin Durant gets tired of where he is, or they get tired of him, and they make a trade. And Durant was sent last couple of days to the Houston Rockets. It can't be announced until July 1st. And the other crazy thing about this deal was it was announced during the NBA Finals. David Stern made sure that there was no news to upstage the NBA Finals. But this one leaked out, and Durant is going to the Houston Rockets. Analysis from Tony Kornheiser, Mike Wilbon yesterday on PTI.
Durant goes to Houston in exchange for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick in this year's draft, and 5 second-round picks. Wilbon, what does this do for each team?
Well, Tony, I think we're mostly concentrating on the Houston part of this because I don't think the Suns got that much. I mean, they got a promising young player. Dylan gives them some toughness that they, let's face it, did not have for some of us who are out here quite a bit in Arizona and watch the Suns almost every game. They need that toughness. The draft pick could turn into something. The draft pick, when you're drafting there now, you can draft, guess what? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Giannis, they're in that mix around that point of a lottery. They were chosen then. They weren't 1, 2, or 3s. Neither was Joker. Neither were a lot of people. Jalen Brunson. You can find a player at 10 that can lead you to a championship. So I don't want to diminish it, but let's not go crazy. This is about Houston. Kevin Durant at this stage by himself can't help a team get out of 12th. I know this because the Suns didn't even get in the play-in. But when it comes to jump shooting, catch and shoot, off the dribble, three-point, mid-range, Kevin Durant is as damn near as good as there's ever been. And he can help them, Tony. The Houston Rockets, and by the way, they are coached by a guy who knows KD and Ime Udoka. They've got everything set up for him to slide in there and help Houston hold steady at number 2 and challenge OKC.
Yeah, so my feeling about this is that Houston, stole somebody from Phoenix, just stole them blind. I disagree with you on a bunch of these things. Jalen Green is a very, very good player, but he's a guard. And he's going to join a team where there already is an established guard, Devin Booker, and an overpaid, overrated, and maybe untradeable guard in Bradley Beal. They would be great in a 3-on-3 league, but this is the NBA, and I don't think it helps them very much. Dylan Brooks is a suspension waiting to happen. He's a great defender. He's a fierce physical player, but he's not a difference maker unless it's a great team. Unless it's a great team, he's not a difference maker. I disagree with you on number 10. I agree that it could be a great pick. It also could be garbage, and second-round picks are completely useless. No, it's all about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, and you know, Mike, that I think he's often a miserable person, somebody who's unhappy wherever he is. But he also always gets 25 points a game. Always.
Yeah.
Let me stress this. Okay? Yeah. Somebody's going to say he's 37 years old. Did you see any diminution of skills? No. There has not been any diminution of skills. He's a great player. Now, in 2 years, Mike, he's going to say, I hate it in Houston and get me out of here. But how about this coming year? This coming year, he could be great.
And if he is, then the Rockets are in the mix, which leads to the conversation about Oklahoma City and dynasty and why it's ridiculous to have that conversation because of the movement of players all the time. I mean, we had for a period of time the perfect scenario in the NBA where the Celtics had their big trio with Parrish, Bird, and McHale, and they were a team that stayed together for a long time. They won 3 championships, and the Lakers with Magic and Kareem and Worthy, they won 5. And it just doesn't work that way anymore. Guys move from place to place, and teams don't stay together, and teams that are close get that one big piece like Houston. And so, you know, you don't know what's going to happen next year. And, of course, all these ACL injuries, not ACL, but the Achilles injuries have really changed the perspective on things. Like, you know, Boston looked like they were a team they're going to repeat, but they did not because of an Achilles injury. And, you know, you look at the progress that was made this year by Indiana. Well, with Halliburton likely to miss all of next year, they're probably not going to be a factor either. So why not? Why not see what you can do? Roll the dice. If it doesn't work out, try and get yourself another superstar the following year. NBA building teams totally changed. Totally changed. And maybe Oklahoma City has found the answer. But do they have a player? They have the MVP of the league and the MVP of the finals. But do they have a trio of superstars? No, not really. Not really. And maybe they're the new model. Maybe not. You know, if a team with a bunch of superstars wins next year, then we go back to saying, yeah, that's the only way to win a championship. Coming up, Gilbert Arenas has an interesting take on what LeBron said last week or the week before about the ring culture. The ring culture, by the way, which he basically created by taking his talents to South Beach. You know, his ability to read the room is really stunningly bad. But Gilbert has a take on what the ring culture is all about and why it isn't necessarily what LeBron says it is. We'll get to that and more as we continue. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
Probably should update you on something. Yes, I can still make this noise because if you're a regular listener to this show, as Ken Beatrice used to say back in the day, on this signal on AM 630, I canceled my newspaper subscription to the Post. I kept the online because they had jacked up the price to over $500. I think it was like $550 for the year. And it just, for me, I mean, I could afford that, but I just couldn't bring myself to pay that much money for a newspaper that I remember not too long ago paying 25 cents or even 15 cents to buy. I realize things have changed in a big way, and it now costs $4 to buy it at the newsstand if they have such things on a daily basis. And on Sunday, it's $6. So when I canceled the newspaper and just kept the online subscription, they said that they would continue to deliver the paper, the actual paper, unless I tell them to stop. I didn't think that was going to be indefinitely, and it probably isn't. But 2 months later, the paper is still showing up at my house. Now, I don't know if you even have seen a newspaper in recent years, but they've made some changes to it this week, which are indicating it may just totally disappear. Maybe not the Post itself as an online service, but what I used to do and have loved throughout my life is picking up the newspaper and flipping through a few sections until I found the sports section, and then I would pull it out. That would be the first thing that I would read. Well, this is how they explain what's going on with the newsprint edition of the Washington Post. And it says from Matt Murray, the executive editor, he says, to our readers, the Washington Post is committed to bringing you high-quality journalism and premium news experiences in all the ways you want them. With that atop of mind, we want to let you know that some of the changes to the physical format of your daily newspaper. The number of stories we publish will not be changing. The daily news report, your favorite stories, columns, and features all remain part of the Post, but we are reordering. That's how they describe this. We are reordering our sections to improve our efficiency in a way that serves journalism and bolsters the strength of our print paper, meaning we're going to do this a little cheaper. The change means the number of and order of sections will change. So today, for example, there are 3 sections, really 2. The A section, which is politics in the nation, world, business, and opinion. The B section, and the B section is what has really rankled me. The B section is now combined style, sports, and metro. Those used to be 3 separate sections. That's now all in one section. I like to have my newspaper. I like to have my front page of the sports section right in front of me as I pull that section there. And now it's just kind of mixed in with the others. Even on Sunday, it's going to be only 6 sections. The B section will have combined, no, it's actually only 3, really. It's 6 sections, but it's combined into 3. Oh, no, they will have separate sections, it says here. Arts and style, travel, book world, and comic, whatever. I mean, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And I just don't understand the economics of this, where somehow I guess there are people, because I've seen them in the 7-Eleven, or they wouldn't order them unless people were buying them. There are people who will plunk down $4 plus to buy a print edition of the Post and $6 on Sunday. You can also get just Sunday delivery if you want, which comes with online access. So that might be something that would interest you if you still like to get the Sunday paper. But the daily paper is getting smaller and smaller. And the sports section, which I have loved so much over the years, now gone. It's just sort of blended in with style and metro and whatever else they put it with. It probably is of little consequence to you, but as a man in my mid-60s who's been reading the Post for probably 60 years, it's a change, and I don't adapt well to change. All right, this is from Gilbert Arenas yesterday on the Dan Patrick Show, and he was talking about the way that we view the ring culture, and it's on the heels of the comments that LeBron made that everybody gets judged too much on rings, even though 15 years ago he's the one that said, well, I don't want to be 30 years old with a bad knee and not a ring. So he took his talents to South Beach in one of the most awkward news conferences ever, and certainly didn't help his legacy. And he promised not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. He promised all those titles. He got 2. He lost 2, and then he went back to Cleveland to take care of unfinished business. He won a title there. He won another with the Lakers. So now he has 4 as he approaches the age of 40. But this was interesting insight from Gilbert Arenas, who does a podcast called I guess it's the Arena something podcast. It might be that, whatever it is. And he was on Dan Patrick's show yesterday to not only talk about the ring chase, but the way the ring chase is done by certain superstars, relating it to the Kobe and Shaq split of the early 2000s.
There's a reason Kobe, with 3 rings, pushed Shaq away. Because when he had the 3 rings, and he's saying, hey, I'm Michael Jordan, they're like, yeah, well, Shaq is carrying you. And he's like, wait, what? No, wait, hold on, no. You told me that I'm the next thing to Michael Jordan. Why are you not treating me like that? So now it's, well, I need to get rid of him to show who I am. That's why his 4th and 5th ring to him is the most special one. They're the sweetest ones. You see, the reality of it is we're finding out in real time. We're told championships is everything. When we're getting them and we're not being recognized for them, that's when reality kicks in.
But do you think that Kobe is the one who initiated this? I mean, there was friction with him and Shaq. First of all, Shaq had his little brother. Then all of a sudden, little brother is getting 30. And then all of a sudden, things changed. That, yes, we did win. I, had an equal hand in this. But then did it get to the point where both their egos, or maybe Kobe's ego, to say, I got to prove that I can win without Shaq.
And that's exactly what it is. You're winning. He's getting all the credit. And he's like, well, I averaged 32. I did my part. Well, I'm not getting the equal love, right? So when we talk about champions and you're giving option one all the love, while option two is like, I did just as much damage. Kyrie, same thing. Hey, hold on, I hit the game winner. I hit the game winner. And LeBron is getting all the credit. So he's like, well, I need to go and show people I can do this by myself too. That's what ends up happening. That's where the egos come from. The egos come from, I'm watching the guy get all the love and I'm waiting next. And I'm hearing all the people and everybody's going, getting all autographs. And they're like, hey, Robin, you did great. And he's like, Robin? Oh, wait, no. I'm like a Batman too. I'm like I'm 1B. I'm 1B. Give me the 1B love. And they don't get it. And that's where the ego plays a part.
How many titles, if Shaq and Kobe stay together, do you think they win?
I talk to players on the team because I'm a big Kobe fan, even though people don't think my whole life revolves around it. Tattoos, LA, Kobe, everything.
Wait, you got Kobe tattoos?
I got a 24 tatted after he won his championship by himself. Right, I got it right on my leg. 24 tatted. Right, because as a Kobe fan, when they say you couldn't win one without Shaq, it's like you proved everybody wrong. Yes, that's yes.
Wait. You're in the league with Kobe?
Yeah.
And you got a tattoo of Kobe?
Yes.
What did he say when he saw it?
He's never seen it before.
Did he know you had it?
Yes. People don't know. I played in the Olympics or the 2006 FIBA games. I wore number 10. I wore number 10 because I had the conversation with Kobe. If you ever played in a game, what number would you wear? And he said, I'm wearing number 10 because there's one more than Jordan's 9. Okay. So when I got the team, I wore 10. And then when I didn't make the team and he played, he wore 10. But I did that for that. So I'm Kobe always.
It's kind of stalkerish here.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure.
Do you have any other players on your body?
No, just Kobe.
Just Kobe.
No, Penny. Oh, no, Penny Hardaway College. Those are my two favorite. Penny Hardaway.
When
I went to Orlando, I wore number 1. I wore number 1 also. So I have Penny 25 on my leg. So I wore 25 in high school because of Penny Memphis.
All right, so that's the weird part of the Gilbert conversation, that he has tattoos of the numbers of the players that he admired on his leg. That's the thing. What was kind of brushed over there, and is something I've never heard before, is and you have to take Gilbert with a grain of salt, because he's the one who came here to Washington in 2003 after playing 2 years and not really making much noise, but playing 2 years as a second round draft pick at Golden State. And he said that he had flipped a coin as to where he was going to go. One was the Clippers, one was the Wizards. The coin flip landed in favor of the Clippers, and he signed with the Wizards just to go the other way. And then he said he just made up that story. The Wizards probably wanted him more, and that was really one of the good moves that Ernie Grunfeld made. It blew up in the end with Gilbert bringing guns in the locker room and pooping in the shoe and all the other nonsense that he did. But the part where he said that Kobe chose 10 as his Olympic number because it was one more than Jordan is something I'd never heard. And that lends credence to the story about the number change that he made midway through his NBA career. He had grown up in Italy, and I forget the name of the player, but he became a coach. Anyway, there was a guy who was a real star in Italy who wore number 8. And so when Kobe came to the NBA, he couldn't wear 8 in high school. They didn't allow you to wear numbers like that in those days. They probably still don't. You can in college. But when he went to the NBA, he wore number 8 with the Lakers. And midway through his career, he switched to 24, which is one of the numbers he wore when he was in high school. He also wore number 33. But the reason that some said he switched to 24 is because it was one more than Jordan. Now, he came up one short of Jordan in titles. Kobe won 5, Jordan won 6. But that would make sense that he took an Olympic number, which was one more than Jordan, and he took an NBA number, which was one more than Jordan's number 23. Something to think about. And also what he said about chasing the ring, that you don't want to be thought of as Robin if you're ring chasing, and he was chasing Jordan his whole career. Never really caught him. I don't think anybody would say that Kobe was a better player than Jordan, but he was one of the all-time greats. And during his career, you try and be the best you can and try to be the best of all time. And nobody worked harder at it than Kobe Bryant, maybe even harder than Jordan. He was intense in his preparation. And, the story was that they had the Redeem team for the Olympics after they lost in 2004, I believe. That they came back in 2008 with a vengeance. And that was the first one that Mike Krzyzewski coached, and they were training for the Olympics in Las Vegas. And most of the team went to the club one night, and they stayed out all night, had a good time, and they came back at 5 o'clock in the morning to see Kobe coming downstairs to go to the hotel gym. And that's the kind of intensity that he had. So it does make sense that he had a number one more than Jordan because he was out to win 7 rings. Came up too short, but that was his quest. And so the Olympic number story is one that I had never heard before, but might be true, although it comes from Gilbert, so you never know. Here's a story which I remember hearing about. I think 60 Minutes did this, and it seemed to make sense for players to do this kind of thing. Now, it's not such a good thing for a player like Fernando Tatis. And he has filed suit against Big League Advance, attempting to void the future earnings contract that he signed as a 17-year-old minor leaguer that could cost him $34 million. The company, Big League Advance, their strategy, and it was a good strategy, I thought, and not such a terrible thing for a 17-year-old minor leaguer who might not necessarily become a superstar. There are a lot of minor leaguers who never make it to the major leagues. So at 17, Fernando Tatis signed a deal that promised 10% of his future earnings to this Big League Advance in exchange for $2 million in upfront money. 17-year-old kid from the Dominican Republic, that was life-changing money for his family, $2 million. And, okay, he was going to have to pay 10% of his earnings. So in February of 2021, he signed a $340 million 14-year contract. And now he is saying, oh, no, I should not have to pay that deal. They're accusing Big League Advance of using predatory tactics to lure him into an investment deal that was actually an illegal loan. That they misrepresented itself to Tatis, hiding its unlicensed status and pushing him into loan terms banned by California's consumer protection laws, the suit alleges. I don't know what effect that's going to have on the changes that the Trump administration is doing to these consumer watchdog agencies, but that's the case that they're trying to make there. His attorney is Robert Hertzberg. He said that Tatis would also be on the hook for future earnings from any subsequent contract he might sign unless the deal is voided. So we'll see how the courts rule on this. But I would think that if it's a signed contract, and I remember again this feature that 60 Minutes did on this company, it seemed like a legit operation. And Hertzberg said that even though he signed the deal in the Dominican Republic, he's covered by California consumer protection laws. We'll see how that stands up. Meantime, this company, this future earnings company, BLA, they are suing another Padres outfielder, former outfielder, Franmil Reyes. They claim breach of contract. They say he owes them more than $400,000 in past due payments, plus $298,000 in interest, plus the amount of money from a contract that he signed in Japan. We'll see how this holds up, but again, you sign the deal. You also get $2 million in cash, whether you never play a game in the major leagues or not, and never sign a contract of that size. It would seem to me that the courts would favor big league advance on this. But I'll be interested to see how this turns out. You know, it's he might have been warned about it. Hey, you know, what happens if you sign this? Well, it's $2 million of now money for your family. And yes, $34 million is a hell of a lot of money, but you would still have on a $340 million contract, $306 million, which is also a lot of money. This could be fascinating. And if I were the judge, I have to look at all the evidence, and I don't have any kind of legal background. But if it's a legit contract, I would say that Tatis would have to pay the money. Or maybe it goes further down the line and this company settles for less, although I don't know if they want to set that precedent. Very fascinating legal story. I'd have to talk to somebody who knows a lot more about the law than I do, and that's anything about the law since I know nothing about it. But it's what we do here in sports radio. We speculate on everything. All right, coming up, we'll get to more in Oklahoma City and the potential dynasty that they could become. I caution you on that. And it was 15 years ago today that John Wall was drafted number one by the Washington Wizards. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630. It's feeling like the last day of school is tomorrow. You know, we've already had the last day of school, really, for everybody. College, high school, elementary, junior, whatever. But the way the sports calendar works, once we get through with the NBA draft, it's pretty much baseball until we get to training camp in about a month. Now, Commanders are opening up with rookies on July 18th, so we're less than a month away from that, and really less than a month away from veterans who are due on the 22nd. But between now and then, it's the NBA draft, it's baseball, it's the All-Star game, which doesn't seem to move the needle anymore, and that's about it. So we'll take a look at what's going to happen tomorrow night. It's an interesting situation for the Wizards, as it looks like they may have a player who really wants to play for them. I think it's been a long time since that, if ever. Was there ever a player who said, God, I hope the Washington team drafts me, whether they were the Bullets or the Wizards? I don't think it's been that case. But that may be what's happening with Ace Bailey. We'll get to that in a second. But this kind of talk always starts after an NBA championship is decided. Oh, is this a dynasty? We thought the Boston Celtics were last year, but they're not. They were one of the teams that suffered a torn Achilles, which has derailed them. But Oklahoma City is the model. And I probably told you this. I had lunch with Mark Boyle, voice of the Pacers. Congratulations them for having the season that they had. But he told me before the playoffs started back in March when the Pacers were in town that Oklahoma City is playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. And it looks like they're doing all the right things off of their championship. Not only were they a team that won 24 games just 3 years ago and then wound up with 84, including the playoffs. They won 68 during the regular season, but their starters are young, 27, 26, 23, 24. And the MVP of the league is, 26 in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Maybe this is a team that can stick around for a while, win a lot of championships. Maybe not. I am as skeptical as Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon were last night on PTI.
The Thunder are the youngest NBA title team since the 1977 Portland Trail Blazers. Tom, what are your thoughts on what they accomplished, and what do you see in OKC's future?
Okay, they were the best team in the league all year. They are a deserving champion. They won 84 games when you combine regular season and playoffs. That's the third most ever, okay? So they are a deserving team. But just please, don't talk to me about dynasties. I was watching television this morning on this network, and I saw this graphic that said how young they were and how all their key players are signed for the next 50 years and how they have a million first-round draft choices. And, Mike, as you know, the clear inference of that is that, they're going to do this for a long time, to which we raise our hands and we say, hold on a second, Sparky. Hold on, it doesn't necessarily work that way. This is the 7th year in a row with a new champion in the NBA. So there is change in the NBA. Last night's winner, first place team, could end up in 4th, like Denver, like Milwaukee.
Right.
These things happen, and look at who they have to watch out for. They have to watch out for Houston. They have to watch out for San Antonio. They have to watch out for Denver. They have to watch out for the Lakers with Doncic there from the beginning of the season. Okay, these are important things to consider. They had to go 7, Mike, to beat Denver and 7 to beat Indiana. So while I like them and I believe they are deserving, let's not say that they're going to waltz through, because they're not going to waltz through.
Amen, Tony, to every single syllable you just spoke. I'm just going to go back. Let's just go back 1 year to Boston. Oh, Boston's got a dynastic team. Well, they would if Jason Tatum carried an extra Achilles tendon around in his suitcase. You were always one injury, one contract dispute, one locker room blow up away. Now, OKC, for the things it can control, Tony, let me say that I just think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think he's damn near the perfect star. Everything that kid says and does strikes the right tone. The way he comports himself, the way he reacts to things, the way he leads his team, the way he plays. They've got it all for now, and yet, one contract dispute, one Achilles tendon. Guess what? We've seen it. We see it all the time, sadly. Kyrie Irving had this, which might have prevented Dallas. Dame Lillard just had it, which might have prevented. Giannis got hurt. I'm not wishing any of that on OKC. I want them to be healthy and whole and to see how great they are, but
it's not just that. Mike,
people.
It's not just that. The league changes all the time, more than other leagues. Durant is now in Houston. Doncic is starting a full year in L.A. Where's Giannis going to go? You think that'll be impactful?
That's right.
Victor Wembanyama comes back healthy. You think that's going to be impactful? All of these things conspire, so we don't want to have a coronation yet.
And even going back to the Stone Age, which they referenced, the 1977 Portland Trailblazers, almost 50 years ago. That was a great team led by Bill Walton, who had finally found his stride. One of the greatest, if not the greatest college basketball player ever at UCLA. Had some injuries that he dealt with early on in his career in Portland. And that would have been year, 3 or 4 for him, 74, 75, 75, 76. It was his third year in Portland. And they had put together not incredible talent around him. They had an enforcer in Maurice Lucas, who was a really good rebounder. It was Dave Twardzik, Bobby Gross, hardly household names around Bill Walton. And they really hit their stride in that 76-77 season. They played the Philadelphia 76ers with George McGinnis and Julius Erving, who had just come over from the ABA. And they were the favorites to win the title. They won the first 2 games. And then Portland got going, and they won the last 4. They won the series. And the following year, which was the subject of the book that David Halberstam wrote and inspired a young John Feinstein to do the same thing, to follow a team for an entire season, David Halberstam wrote The Breaks of the Game. And it was about the year 77-78 with the Portland Trailblazers, where the breaks that he was talking about were actual broken bones. And when Bill Walton broke his foot, things went south from a 50-8 start. He tried to come back and play on it, and things were never the same for the Portland Trailblazers after that. They were never a factor, and Walton went on to play with the Clippers and then eventually the Celtics. But the promise that they had off of that championship, hey, they're the youngest team in the league, they should go on to win a whole bunch of them, didn't happen that way. And you don't know what's going to happen. And injuries often change that. And as Charles Barkley used to say to teams when he was playing, when he was trash talking, he says, hey, you all are just one ACL away from the lottery. And even for a championship contender, Well, in the case of Indiana, which came within one game of winning the NBA championship, their first since coming from the ABA 49 years ago, it turned out to be a torn Achilles and a calf injury, really. I mean, even if he hadn't torn his Achilles, the calf injury severely hindered Halliburton, and that's what may have cost them the championship. So it's way too early to talk about dynasties, and let's see them repeat. Let's see if we get an actual repeat NBA champion, which I don't believe we've had since the Lakers. Is that possible? When the Lakers won 3 straight? I have to look that up. I may be wrong about that, but I thought maybe the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq, when they won 3 straight, was the last time that we had a repeat champion. As for the NBA draft tomorrow night, very interesting thing developing here. I don't know if this is his intention, but what we heard in the early part of this draft process, as soon as the college season ended, was, oh, yeah, Cooper Flagg, generational player, he's going number one. After that, there was some discussion that the next 2 players taken could be Rutgers players. Dylan Harper is likely to go number 2 to San Antonio after Flagg goes number 1 to Dallas. Dylan Harper, the son of Ron Harper, played alongside of Ace Bailey, and between the 2 of them, couldn't take Rutgers to the NCAA tournament, which is really amazing, and they could have been the 2 and 3 picks, and maybe still will be. But what Bailey is doing is that he has turned down a number of teams, and the Wizards are not one of them for pre-draft interviews. And could he be looking at the Wizards and saying, well, yeah, that's the next Oklahoma City. They're doing things the same way. They have the same front office guys who built Oklahoma City. And maybe, that's what's going to happen there. And he's willing to forfeit money from going maybe 2 or 3 down to number 6 where the Wizards are. And we've never seen any, as far as I've followed this team since I was a kid when they were the Baltimore Bullets. I've never seen anything like this, but that's what may be happening here with Bailey. He shot 46% from the field and 34% from 3, but they said he took some bad shots along the way. He's 6'7". They seem to have a lot of guys like that. He's got a nice wingspan like Koulibaly at 7 feet. And he recorded 2.3 steals and blocks with the Scarlet Knights, but they had a losing record. They have 2 players who are going to be among the first, maybe 8 players picked, and the team couldn't make it to the NCAA tournament. So that might be a little bit troubling. Jay Billis, who knows more about college basketball prospects, I think, than anyone, was on the Rich Eisen show yesterday with analysis of what we are likely to see tomorrow night.
I think the draft starts at 3, that we're going to see Cooper Flagg go number 1. I can't imagine a scenario. I think there'll be a lot of trades on draft night, but I can't imagine that there's a scenario in which Dallas would trade Cooper Flagg. I just can't imagine it. He's the future of their franchise, and rightfully so. And I think Dylan Harper of Rutgers is likely to go 2, whether San Antonio keeps the pick or not. But he'll go number 2, and then it's wide open after that. There's some sort of differing views on Ace Bailey, a teammate of Harper's at Rutgers. He's ultra talented. But he comes with a little bit of risk, and he hasn't worked out for some of the teams. He hasn't worked out with Philly, and then it's a question of what do you do with when you get to 3, 4, 5. Like you got Trey Johnson of Texas, Con Knippel of Duke as great shooters, and B.J. Edgecombe of Baylor. These guys are all young guys. Edgecombe reminds me of like a 19-year-old Victor Oladipo or maybe an 18, 19-year-old Dwayne Wade. That doesn't mean he's going to reach those heights, but he certainly can. He's got the makeup to do that.
So who do you like as a sleeper is just a silly word. Obviously, we don't know, but who do you like? Who would you pound the table for and say, this guy doesn't have nearly as much heat on him as he should in this draft? Jay, who do you like there?
It's interesting. Like, I think the kid from Duke, Con Knippel, is really interesting. Like, I could see him going number 3 because he can really shoot it. He's probably the best standstill shooter in the draft. The best overall shooter, both, catch and shoot and off the dribble, is Trey Johnson, in my view. From Texas, and he's got a 6'10" wingspan. He's a fast twitch athlete. He just doesn't he's not an impactful defender just yet, but he's still only 19. But Knipple is he really shoots it. I mean, he's a 48% corner shooter and I think he shot like 48% from the field, 41% from three, and 91% from the foul line. He's strong. He's not an NBA elite athlete, but when he gets in the lane, he plays up 2 feet. He's always around the ball, getting loose balls. He's tough. I can see him. I can see Philly taking him at 3 because he can shoot it. But there are a number of options they have there. I'll be interested to see what happens with Ace Bailey. I'm not sure I would have counseled him taking this approach to the draft as far as the way he conducted the workouts and didn't go to certain places and decided not to show what he had. He could go anywhere from 3 to 8. But he's ultra talented, and he's one of those guys where teams are going, well, if we take him and it doesn't work out, we get fired. And if we don't take him and he turns out to be all that, we get fired. So there are going to be some tough decisions, kind of 3 through 8.
I would say this, and I think Billis is right about that. If you don't take him and he develops into a star, you get fired. And if you take him and he doesn't develop into a star, you get fired. But I think that this group has a little bit more wiggle room. I just think that the way Ted has set this up, they preach patience. We've gone through 2 horrendous seasons with them, probably another, no matter who they get and no matter how good the number 6 pick of the draft turns out to be, or if they trade up or down, whatever they do with it. But I think that it's quite possible that Will Dawkins will get some more leeway in this if this doesn't work out. But it is accurate what he says. And, it's typical Wizards luck that they fall down to number 6. I don't know what this means. It may mean something for what they do tomorrow night in terms of making trades. But Chris Middleton has opted in to the last year of his contract, $33.3 million. I think they pushed them to do this before the draft so you have some cost certainty where if you trade him. But the deal that sent Kyle Kuzma to Milwaukee brought in Middleton and A.J. Johnson. Middleton is still a productive player, averaged 10 points in 14 games with the Wizards. He's had some knee stuff to deal with and would be a free agent after next season. But in this day and age, a guy for 1 year at $33 million who can give you some points and has been a part of a championship team in Milwaukee before with Giannis Antetokounmpo might be somebody who's desired as they move either up or down in the draft tomorrow night. All right, 15 years ago today, John Wall drafted number one by the Washington Wizards. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
So as I told you earlier in the show, I just got back from Chicago, and they have wonderful delis in Chicago. New York is probably the deli capital of the world. You can find some great delis in Los Angeles, big cities. You wouldn't expect to find a deli of that quality in Falls Church, Virginia. But there is one. It's called Celebrity Deli. And to tell you how good they are, they've been around for 50 years. So, restaurants come and go. The good ones stick around. And 50 years is some staying power. And you got to have great food and great deli food to make that happen. And certainly Celebrity Deli does that. They have great pastrami, which I think is always a benchmark. They have wonderful matzo ball soup, which my 3-year-old granddaughter absolutely loves. And you can go in there for a terrific meal. It's a great restaurant. Or you can order to go. Or, better yet, have them cater your next big event. You can order online at celebritydeli.com. They spell deli with a Y, D-E-L-L-Y, celebritydeli.com. And you will find absolutely big city quality deli food. It's just absolutely top-notch, and you should check it out if you're in the area or if you like to have it delivered for a big event. Again, it's celebritydeli.com, Celebrity Deli, Falls Church, Virginia, right off of Route 50, been around for 50 years, and it is absolutely top-notch deli. That's Celebrity Deli. So it was 15 years ago today that this happened.
With the first pick in the 2010 NBA Draft, the Washington Wizards select John Wall from the University of Kentucky.
Yep, John Wall was part of a team that had a bunch of players taken in the draft. There were 3 more of his teammates among the top 30 picks, but Wall was the guy. He was clearly the number one. When they had the lottery for the number 1 pick, you may have seen pictures of this. Irene Poland, whose husband, Abe Poland, had died less than a year earlier, got the honor of being at the lottery. And the look on her face when it came up number 1, she was wearing a bright yellow blazer. And the look on her face, oh, my God, they're picking number 1. They didn't own the team anymore, but kind of a classy move by Ted Leonsis to invite her to the lottery. And the Wizards picked John Wall number 1. Craig Sager at the time, the late, great Craig Sager, was doing the reporting for TNT. I guess TNT had the draft that year. It's now on ESPN. But this was like moments after he was drafted, John Wall sitting down with Sager to discuss what was next for him, including teaming up with Gilbert Arenas. Now, remember, Gilbert Arenas the season before had been suspended, was placed on home arrest for bringing the guns in the locker room. But he was eligible to come back, and Ted actually said, oh, yeah, he'll be sort of a mentor to John Wall. Well, that didn't happen. They traded him after like 15 games, and John Wall's career was on. But this is how he looked at things 15 years ago tonight.
Yes, it was the worst-kept secret in the draft. John Wall goes number 1 to the Washington Wizards, and all of a sudden there's your college coach, John Calipari, there to enjoy the moment with you. What did that mean to you?
It meant a whole lot. Like I said during the season, Coach Cal was like a father figure to us. We looked to him for advice and go to his house and eat and spend the night. So I was happy for him to be here with us.
He said you're a coach's dream. Not only you do what you have to do on the court, but you make everybody else better. With your individual talent, how come you're so unselfish, and what do you try to do on the court?
Basically, growing up, I was, at times when I was younger, I didn't really pass the ball, so I was shooting a lot because I was small and got the best of my team. So growing up, I played for the guy, and they really changed. I was tall, and I was still a point guard. And I just found a touch to thank God that give me the ability to be able to pass the ball like I can. So going into Kentucky, I wanted to tell my teammates, y'all got to get going first. I can get going later, and that was the key.
You're used to winning a lot of games. The Wizards are in a rebuilding program. How long do you expect them to be in the playoffs, and do you expect Gilbert Arenas to stay?
I hope Gilbert can stay. He's a talented person, and I wouldn't mind playing with him. But one thing I learned listening to Kevin Durant earlier, he said they went 0-10 at one point. He came from a winning season, playing with Texas and it was tough. Basically, you just got to stay confident in your team and in yourself. And, NBA's a different level. You can lose 10 in a row quickly. So, basically, hopefully we want to get to the playoff in the first year or second year, but it's going to take time. Like you said, it's a rebuilding program.
Like your idol, Michael Jordan, I believe you were cut from the varsity team as a sophomore. What effect did that have, if any, on you being here where you are tonight?
I had a major effect. That was my first time ever getting cut from a team or even really trying out for a team. Most of the time I just got put on a team, so that really showed me that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I thought I should have made a team, but I didn't make it. So luckily I seen the Michael Jordan tape a couple of weeks before the tryouts, and he got cut. So I was like, well, it's not too bad the greatest player got cut. So I just moved on and used it as a lot of motivation.
And unlike Kwame Brown 9 years earlier, Wall was not a bust, not at all. He was as fast a player with the ball as you've ever seen. He could go coast to coast with blazing speed. He was a good scorer, averaged 16, 17 points a game, and hit his stride at the right time. 2016, 2017 season, he finished 7th in the MVP voting. He was an all-star. And he took the Wizards to Game 7 of the second round of the playoffs. Almost got them to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 1979. And I guess what really stood out, though, was after winning Game 6, he stood on the table and acted like the series was over. It wasn't. It went to Game 7 in Boston, and the Celtics moved on. But he had this enormous contract, and the following season, 2017, 2018, he was an all-star, but he got hurt. Played only 41 games. Came back the following season, played 32 games, didn't play at all 2019, 2020, then was traded to the Houston Rockets, where he managed to play 40 games in 2021. Didn't play at all in 2021, 22. They were trying to buy him out. Came back and played, 34 games with the Clippers in the 2022-23 season when he was 32 years old and never played again. So it was, sort of a Strasburg situation, Strasburg, number one by the Nationals. He was the World Series MVP. They never got to the championship round with John Wall, but got the contract at the right time, and the contract proved to be an albatross for them. But 15 years ago tonight, the future looked bright. Build around a guy who would be a very good all-star point guard, and if you make the right selections instead of guys like Jan Vesely, then things turned out a little bit differently. But John Wall, far from a bust, just like many things with the Washington Wizards, it did not work out. Now, they didn't take Evan Turner from Ohio State, who went number 2, so they could have gone in that direction. Could have been worse, but not exactly the way that they wanted it to work out for them. Let me finish up with this as I now get ready for another vacation next week. I'm going to be taking off, and then I'll probably take another week in August and maybe some more in between. I load up in the summer because, that's when there's really nothing going on. But there are such things as, for really busy people, this is from the travel section over the weekend, the 24-hour vacation. Yes, the 24-hour vacation. And they profile Kevin Droniak, who says he is addicted to 24-hour travel. He's a content creator who has documented over a dozen trips originating from New York on TikTok. He says typically it involves an early morning flight, a period of exploring a city or specific attraction, then departure in the evening or the following morning. If you do it in the same day, obviously you don't have to pay for a hotel room, and you can probably shop around for some bargain flights. And if you have the energy to do it, why not do it? It includes domestic hops to Chicago. So New York to Chicago, not a big deal. I just took that flight from D.C. It's less than 2 hours. But how about going to Paris? 24 hours in Paris. Expedia reports that the top cities Americans have booked for 24-hour travel in the past 3 months include Los Angeles, New York, Orlando, Atlanta, and Las Vegas. There are airline employees who take advantage of this. They can fly for free or at a discounted rate on a standby basis. You also have that jump seat that they can hop into, so it makes sense for them. But the story about Paris, yes, Droniak did that, and Cairo, he did spend there 1 day there from New York. His goal was only to see the pyramids, but he did it. He did this in April. It was the most intense day-long expedition yet. It included a 10-hour red-eye flight landing in Cairo before dawn. He traveled back to New York 24 hours later, spending as much time in the air as he did on the ground. Now, what does something like this cost? Maintaining a strict budget is a key part of the day trip. For Droniak, it means domestic trips, $250 or less, international ones, about $500. That includes economy flights and activities on the ground. However, he admits that Egypt was his most costly adventure, $1,000. $1,000 to see Egypt, not bad. It would seem, though, that a vacation would be something where you would want to relax. And when you're trying to do all that in 1 day, it's not exactly a relaxing situation. But it says American travelers will be shelling out more money in one-night summer getaways in 2025 than ever before. An average person will spend $700. Last year, it was $594. So who knew that this was actually a big market? And when you think about it, if you're doing like a 3-day weekend. So 1 day it's travel. Now, what can really screw you up is a flight delay, and sometimes they go, 7 hours or so. So that can really screw it up. But let's say you take a 3-day vacation. Well, by the time you schlep to the airport, you get to the hotel, and you're tired, and you unpack, and maybe you want to take a nap, that day is shot. The second day, you're going to do what you do. And then the third day, you're getting ready to travel back. So once you've had your breakfast and you've hooked up with an Uber or however you're going to get to the airport, you got to check in and you got to go through security. If you can compress all that into 1 day, why not? It might make some sense. Now, I'm not good at sleeping on planes. I've flown great distances before. I flew to South Africa, which was like 3 legs of a flight. You had to go from Dulles to Senegal and eventually got to Cape Town. I flew to Israel about 20 years ago when my nephew got bar mitzvah. That was one of the legs of the flight. I don't think we were able to fly direct, but that was a very, very long flight. But 24-hour vacation, might not be a bad thing. Now, I've always been a proponent of the staycation. I think the staycation is the most severely underrated vacation that there is. You just get things done that you just won't do on a weekend, whether you're staining a deck or clearing out closets or just doing things that make you feel good. They're work, but you get them done, and they just get postponed on weekends because weekends are for other things, including getting ready for work on Monday. So there may be a place for the 24-hour vacation. Who knows? But anyway, tomorrow we'll take a closer look at the draft as the Wizards right now have the number 1 pick. They could trade out of that spot, but could be something very interesting developing with Ace Bailey, who was once an early Washington Capital, tragically killed in the Pentagon crash of 9/11. But if there's another Ace Bailey in town, it could be very interesting the way that works out with him turning down interviews with other teams to possibly want to be a Washington Wizard. Bram is coming up next, and I will see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.